How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Trades and Grades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Noah Wright. Alongside me is Caleb Nemi, and we are here for a round two of the 2023 rookie mock draft. If you guys haven't seen the first one, click on this link up here in the corner. It'll take you to round one. You'll see all the players we already selected. It's a two-part video, but we had some fun with it and some interesting picks. We had some hot takes, but we're going to get into it again with this round two, guys. So sitting here at the 201, we've had here's the difference between last year and this year. Last year was okay. We had Breece Hall. We had some really good wide receivers. I mean, really good ones with Garrett Wilson. Chris Olave has been great this year. Drake London's been, he's a solid player. Hasn't had a great QB to back him up. Birch has been hurt. And of course, Jameson Williams, he's been hurt, but I think he's going to be looking really good here at the end of this year and then going into next year. But the running backs were a little lackluster. We had Breece Hall, and then Kenneth Walker has really come on his own here. But after that, it was a little suspect. And so that's the difference to me between last year and this year. And so coming at the 201, we're really looking at somebody who I think could be the running back 3 in this class personally. I like him quite a bit coming out of Auburn. And yeah, that's right. We're going to go with Tank Bigsby. I don't really know how you don't pick a guy named Tank because that's just like, he just sounds good, right? Off the bat. But it's more than that for Tank Bigsby. He's been extremely efficient this year. Even though Auburn's not had the greatest year, he's had 970 yards. He's got 5.5 yards per carry, which is up from last year. Last year, he had a pretty solid year as well. 10 touchdowns. And one thing I like to see is every single year he's been in college, he's increased the receiving game. He's now had 30 receptions for 180 yards this year. And if you're in the PPR leagues, which I feel like most people are, you're really going to enjoy those receptions. And he shows that he can do it. And so while that's not his main focus, that is something that he can do. And sitting at 6 foot, 213 pounds, we'll see. Sometimes those maybe aren't exact when you go to the combine, but for general purposes, it's close enough. That's a pretty good range of what we'd like to see. That anywhere from 5'10" to about 6'2", 210 to 230. That's prime. And at 6 foot 213, I really like Tank Bigsby's size, and he moves pretty quick. At least, I'll be interested to see what he gets at the combine, the 40. But this is just a guy that you'd had to get at the 102 last year, and Kenneth Walker, in my opinion. These guys are very close. And so that is the big thing about this class, is this depth.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you, Noah. Big thing with Tank too is he lost like 10 pounds this offseason, slimmed down quite a bit, and his production has remained the same. And actually has helped like his burst. I feel like this year. So super excited to see Tank. Seeing like reports that he's probably going to go somewhere early third round. And especially with this class, like with the depth at running back, like that's a good place to be drafted. So excited to see what Tank does in the NFL. So I guess I'm back on the board at 202. And I'm going to be taking, this is like a sleeper that's like suddenly been rising up boards these last few weeks. And I'm going to go Kendre Miller from TCU. I'll be honest, last week when we did, or 2 weeks ago when we did our round one, we were discussing like as the RB3, is it Sean Tucker? Is it like Zach Evans? I think Kendre Miller is actually making quite the case to be pushed up as potentially the RB3, RB4 of this class. Now, we talked about the TCU bias that we've had with weapons where we haven't really seen even really like an elite running back. I mean, I guess Zach Evans before he transferred, and we'll see what he does in the NFL. But 199 attempts this year, 1,260 yards, 16 touchdowns. We're seeing him mocked currently in the middle to the end of second round mock drafts for the NFL. If he does get that second round draft capital, I think Kendre Miller, even in Superflex League, instantly gets pushed up into the 110, 109 range. He'll probably get drafted above Sean Tucker. I imagine in the actual NFL drafts, which will then, as long as it's a decent landing spot, push him above Sean Tucker and Zach Evans for rookie drafts. So yeah, Kendre Miller, that's going to be my pick at the 202. Feeling pretty confident about it. And we'll see what happens when things roll around in May.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. hate that you picked him, but it's such a good pick, in my opinion. I love Kendre Miller. You're right. He's really starting to fly up these boards, and rightfully so. He's been spectacular this year. And so this is a guy that I really am trying to get in those early to mid second round. I think he'll be there. Another guy that could have been the running back 2 for last year's class, and that we can't harp this enough. There's just been so good. But this year, he's had 1,260 yards on the ground. It's over double from last year and 16 touchdowns. He's really helped their offense out a lot with Quentin Johnston. And so, yeah, love Miller a lot. The 203, I'm going to go with not a running back here. We're going to go with Josh Downs out of North Carolina. He's had a down year from last year, but that was almost to be expected because he had over 1,300 receiving yards last year and 8 touchdowns. This year he's coming in 929, 11 touchdowns. And he's got a pretty solid quarterback in Drake May, who's going to be eligible for the draft in 2024, one of the top QBs in that class. So, keep an eye on May. But Downs, he's a little bit on the smaller side, 5'10", 175. But, he's still proving that he can get it done. I think that when it's all said and done, he'll probably sneak his way inside of the top, I'd say 5, maybe. I think wide receiver 5, I guess, is what we'd have him based on who we've drafted so far. And he's just a pretty solid wide receiver. He reminds me a little bit of Jahan Dotson, the fact that not in terms of like a overall prospect and like build, but more as like kind of an afterthought in a class where there's still a very good player. There's just a lot more stars to be had. And so I think, getting a guy like Josh Downs to the 203 who's proven at a college level as a sophomore that he can ball out. I'm more than happy with having him here.
Yeah, Josh Downs reminds me of Brandon Cooks. I don't know what it is. Josh Downs is faster than Brandon Cooks, but it's just his build. It's the way he plays the game. Super excited. Of course, granted, he did have Sam Howell throwing him the ball, and then now Drake May. So he's had elite college quarterbacks throwing him the ball. But to be fair, if you look at his yards per route run, his after catch ability, it's all on display. So yeah, in the second round, might as well take a shot on Josh Downs, who potentially could be this year's middle, early second George Pickens for sure.
Yep. Yeah, no, I almost forgot to put his picture up here, but look at that nice little snag, those hands.
And both feet down.
And both feet down. He's pro ready wide receiver right there.
So I am up on the board with the 204. I'm going to go with Hendon Hooker. Now, are we all disappointed that Hendon Hooker tore his ACL? Yes. Is that going to hurt his draft stock? Yes, it's going to hurt his draft stock. Are we also a little bit upset that this man is 24 years old beating up on 18-year-olds in college football? Those are all fair questions to be had about Hendon Hooker, but let us not forget that quarterback is not like the other positions. We do not care that a quarterback's coming in at 22, 23, 24, thinking that, oh my goodness, when he gets to the end of this rookie deal, he's a quarterback. And we could say the same thing. We're seeing what's happening with Zach Wilson. Cool, he was young. He was 20 years old when he came into the NFL. Dude sucks. It doesn't matter if you're what age you are. You just got to be good at quarterback. And now Hendon Hooker, it did take him a while to finally break out in college. But when he broke out this year, he broke out. So, he didn't play the whole season, but he did beat Alabama, which was cool. 3,135 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dude was right there in the Heisman race before he tore that ACL. So I think when you're looking at this, how far of a gap is there between Hendon Hooker and Will Levis, who I drafted at the 106 a few videos ago. So if you haven't checked out that video, go check that out after this. I would argue, of course, there's a difference, but not this far, especially in Superflex leagues, considering the fact that Will Levis is probably going to go at somewhere in the top 15 of NFL drafts, and then Hendon Hooker is going to probably go in the early second round. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. Excited to see where he lands. Hopefully he can recover from this ACL, but he'll be ready to go next year. So yeah, excited for Hendon Hooker, getting him at the 204 in the Superflex league.
Yeah, no, he's a very interesting prospect. Like you said, he's a little on the older side. He's seasoned, but I think you know, we saw Kenny Pickett come out, and he was pretty old, but they touted him as being the most pro-ready quarterback, and I think that's what Hooker might provide for a team that, even though you're getting him in the draft, he's got a lot of season under his belt, and you don't really care that much as a quarterback, about his age, because you can play till you're almost 40, or if you're Tom Brady 45, that's an extreme case, but it's not as big of a deal as like a running back. If the running back came out and he was 24 years old, you're already like, ooh, like you got maybe 2 to 3 good years, if that. And really, you're trying to get rid of them by the time they're 26, unless they're generational type. So the age, it doesn't really bother me quite as much. But he's shown that he can be an extremely accurate quarterback. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. You said he had 3,100 yards. But the big thing for me is his passer rating this year and his QBR. QBR is 89.5. That's good for second out of all FBS programs. So that is something where he's got a 27 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That is a fantastic touchdown interception ratio. And so it just proves to me he can make the passes when he needs to. He's got a good high IQ, which is a testament to, he's been in the league, college football, for a while. And so he's gained that knowledge. I think he's ready to move on to the next step, obviously. It was a bummer that they couldn't make it. I guess I shouldn't say they won't make it to the playoffs, because you never know what might happen. They've had a couple bad losses, but I think that, injury, that really sucks. But at the end of the day, when you're looking in a super flex league, a guy like Hendon Hooker with that upside, and he's, I think he's ready to go into the pros. It's a pretty solid pick, so I like the pick there. Moving on to the 205. Oh man, this is tough. So in terms of wide receivers here, you can go a couple different directions. Running backs are plentiful, and so, man, this is just such a tough decision. I'm going to go with somebody who, even though they are a rival of Illinois, he's just a solid running back and should be in the running for Heisman. And that's Blake Corum. Now, I know, he's from Michigan, so probably not a huge fan if your name's Caleb Nemi, but I'm kind of in the same boat, because when he played the Illini, he was kind of ripping them in the first half. Then they hurt him, so it kind of helped. Never want to see a guy get hurt, but when it's Blake Corum and he's facing your team, not particularly upset. But he just had a fantastic year. And like I said, he's been in the Heisman run this year so far. He had a little injury, didn't get a whole lot of reps against Ohio State. I don't know if he even got 2 rushes for 6 attempts, so practically non-existent. But he had 1,463 rushing yards, 11 receptions for 80 yards, 18 touchdowns on the ground, pretty much doing it all for them, even though they have Donovan Edwards, who's a very good running back, another running back to keep in mind for the 2024 class. But he's been extremely dominant. The only thing that I worry about is his size. He comes in at 5'8". They have him listed at 210, which is pretty good for a guy of that stature. He's stocky. We'll see what he actually comes in at. But 5'8" is right where I start to worry. Is he going to be able to make it to the next level? You can see it. Obviously, he can do this in college football, but how many running backs at 5'8" are successful? Not a ton. And we can get more into that when we break down his rookie profile. I might have to whip out some numbers for that and see what the hit rate is on running backs that are 5'8", and draft capital's gonna play a big role here too.
Yeah, so as an Ohio State fan, it was sad not to see Blake Corum not be at full health, but it didn't matter because they just beat us up anyway. Blake, I think it's hard because like the size definitely does scare me. He literally reminds me of Ray Rice or Doug Martin, and I've said that in like previous episodes with us talking about Blake Corum. I think we're just gonna have to see where he lands. I think he's gonna be very landing spot dependent. But yeah, I mean, you're not in the Heisman running just for being like an average running back. Like has the profile. The size is a big concern, and I think maybe even just seeing like the hit granted, like you get rolled up on all the time and everything, but like with his size being smaller, like worried about durability issues. Like, I mean, granted, any running back, it doesn't matter like how big or small, like very higher injury probability rates, but that would be my only concern because I'm seeing that like he's projected like third or fourth round, and like granted, if you get him as a fourth round running back, like I'm not feeling great about his dynasty prospects, but good for any NFL team that gets this talent that late.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I was looking at actually today. I was looking at what the hit rates were on different rounds of running backs, and so yeah, there's a pretty big drop off in between the third and fourth rounds. Pretty much, you're gonna want to see your running back be selected within the first 2 to 3 rounds. I mean, that seems kind of like an obvious statement, but it really does matter. Might not always, maybe for some other positions, but for running backs, we're not looking to find those guys that are going to be like the fifth round, like I don't know what the correct term would be, but like you're not trying to find the diamond in the rough, the unicorn. Like you want to do what's best mathematically for your team. Because if you're going to try and find unicorns all the time, your team's going to kind of suck. Like you might find one once in a while and you get lucky, but we're just trying to play a game of odds. And so hopefully he gets good draft capital. But yeah, the 205, go with Blake Corum.
I like it. I like it. So final pick, I think, of this video we're gonna do at the 206, we will be drafting Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I think he fell far enough. 206, like another reason why we granted, like, yeah, cool. Tried to trade up in the first round. Like, first round has a ton of depth, but like Jalen Hyatt, arguably, and if he was in last year's class with this profile, would have been 110, 111. Just shows you how deep this class is. We're dealing with 11 games played so far, 64 receptions, 1,181 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Now, he totally broke out this year. Last year had 21 catches for 2 touchdowns. His freshman season, he had 20 catches for 2 touchdowns. So, like, this dude came out of left field. And a lot of the reason is Hendon Hooker. Like, we can attribute a lot of the success that he's had to that. But at the same time, like, dude's getting open. If anyone watched, he didn't play in the Alabama. No, he did. He played in the Alabama game.
Oh, he played.
He played. He freaking put on the Superman cape and decided to run past cornerbacks and safeties. And yeah, I don't even know. There's not more to be said. I think I've been seeing Jalen Hyatt. Like I've seen him even being projected to go above like Josh Downs, who's projected like late first. So we're looking at somewhere in like the late first to like mid second. And yeah, when you're getting that value, like in the middle of your second round, great value.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I was looking at Josh Downs there, I was thinking about it, but I was like, you know what? I think he'll fall a little farther. Nah, I should have picked him. So I was looking at some of his tape today, and during my lunch break, and I was just like, okay, I've seen all the stuff about him. I've watched a little bit of game, Alabama game, and I've seen his stats. But like, what does this dude look like? Oh my gosh, is he fast? I mean, just lights up the field. And the way he runs is so smooth. It reminds me a lot of Chris Olave last year, where I just would watch Olave's tape, and it's like he's just gliding past defenders. And the thing I worried the most about with Olave was his yards after the catch, right? He pretty much was a dot monster, where his average depth of target was ridiculous, and he just catches all these deep passes. He's got CJ Stroud, he's got a great quarterback throwing him deep balls, and he's getting past the secondary at a college level. But once he gets to the NFL, is he going to have a quarterback that fits him? And I think we've seen with Olave, which I hope we see with Hyatt, is he's been able to step up his game. He's got Andy Dalton, which is if you are a guy who's a deep ball threat and you have Andy Dalton, and you're still scoring fantasy points, like you're just a good wide receiver in general. And I wish they'd put Jameis Winston in so he just throw the ball for, how many air yards he had. He like broke air yard records as a rookie. It's just stupid because of how far they're throwing on the field for him. But I think that's the biggest knock on Jalen Hyatt is what is he going to do with the ball after the catch? Because he's not very big. 6 foot 180. He's pretty scrawny. Like if you watch him like during the game. But he's just so fast. I mean, it's just stupid. And I love to watch him run. run routes, sprinting down the field. He's just an extremely explosive player. A guy like Jameson Williams last year is an extremely explosive player who's kind of like a skinnier type. Devontae Smith in previous years, that skinnier prototype. And I think in the past you've always wanted these alpha wide receivers, or they're big, stocky. You're like Drake Londons or DKs or what have you. But these guys that are now coming in, like Justin Jefferson, I think you can call him an alpha, but like body type wise, he wasn't like stocky. But a guy like Jalen Hyatt, I just think he's going to have great success if he can get in a system that uses him properly, and he can get quarterback and throw the ball down the field.
Oh, Jalen Hyatt, Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Let's go.
This is no, because he's gonna skyrocket. I want like a mid, like a quarterback that's like, you think he can succeed, but it's not like a perennial like dynasty.
Jalen Hyatt, Minnesota Vikings.
That would be interesting because you're gonna have Jefferson. You have him playing in the slot. I don't know. That would be. They got to figure out the quarterback situation because I don't know what Kirk's doing. But that would be stupid. And then they have TJ Hawkinson. So good luck with that. But we'll have to think more on that. I'm excited if we get to break down some tape of him and post a video of him. That might be like one of my favorite videos to do because he's stupid. He's electric. But all right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Like I said, if you hadn't already watched our round one, I'll put the link back up there again. But go watch it. You'll see all of our different analysis on the players that we picked, like this video was. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our second video. So click on this video here. I'll take you right over there, and we'll see you on the next one.